and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to be talking about pseudo-elements. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you find this useful, share it with someone else. Also, if you want to support my channel, I am going to leave my PayPal link in the description below. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started with pseudo-elements, I need you guys to open the same website we've been working with so far. Go to w3schools.com, then jump into the CSS section and scroll all the way down to where it says pseudo-elements. Once you have that page loaded, I also need you to open the same website we've been coding so far with, and as well, I need you to open the code that we have been working with so far. Now, what I'm going to do is clear out the code so we can work with pseudo-elements today and we can erase the style and all the contents that we input in our previous chapter. Now, by doing this, I will make sure that my website is clear, and let's hit refresh, and boom, here we go. So everything is ready. So what are pseudo-element? What is a pseudo-element and how can you use them? Let's go ahead and read a little bit, and then I'm going to show you a couple of examples because I'm about to explain everything right now. So what are pseudo-elements first? A pseudo-element is used to style specified parts of an element. So here are two examples of parts of an element that can be styled. You can style the first letter or the first line of an element. You can insert contents before or after the content of an element. Those are just a couple of examples. Now that you know what is a pseudo-element, let's take a look at the syntax. The syntax for pseudo-elements is the following. You use a selector, then you use double colons, then you use the pseudo-element, and inside you will have a property and a value. So let's take a look at a couple of pseudo-elements. I'm going to talk about a couple of them here, so then you can go ahead and actually practice on your own code. Okay, so the first pseudo-element we're going to take a look at is at first line. Now, I'm going to hit here where it says try it yourself so that you can see this example. Now here, what I'm going to do is copy the paragraph that they have used here. Okay, and I'm going to paste this paragraph into our HTML file. Now let's hit save, going back to our code, let's hit refresh. And boom, here is the paragraph. Now what I'm going to do, because I need a little bit more of information here, let me just make sure that I'm going to copy this, and let me just include another line here. Actually, let's do another one here. Okay, there we go. So I'm copying and pasting the same thing 3 times. Let's hit refresh now. So that way we have now a bigger paragraph, as you can see. Now, to use the pseudo-element, we have to, use obviously first the selector, which in this case is going to be P. So let's go to our style. We're going to use P. Then double colons. Then you're going to use the first line pseudo-element so that you can see how this works. So let's call first line. Let's open our syntax here, and then we're going to apply a color to this, and let's just apply a background color to this first example. Okay, so the first one is going to be let's say that I want to make everything go red. The background color, let's just do yellow. Okay, let's do yellow. Okay, let's hit save. Now going back to our code, let's hit refresh. And boom, as you can see here, the first line pseudo-element, what it does is that it's going to apply certain style, whatever style that you give into your code in here, to the first line of an element. In this case, is to the first line of the paragraph that we are using as an element. So whenever you just want to change the first line of your element, you can go ahead and you can use the first line pseudo-element. So go ahead and try it out on your code. Now I'm going to go to the next example I want to show you here. And by the way, I'm going to just do a quick note here in regards to the pseudo-element syntax. And I just want you to check the double colon notation that you see here, which is applied for first line versus just one colon first line. So the difference between one and the other is that, as you can see here, and we're going to read a little bit, the double colon replaced the single colon notation for pseudo elements in CSS3. So that's why we use double colons here, because this is an update for CSS3. And this was an attempt from the W3C to distinguish between pseudo classes and pseudo elements. So the single colon syntax was used for both pseudo classes and pseudo elements in CSS 2 and 1, but for backward compatibility, the single colon syntax is acceptable for CSS2 and CSS1 pseudo elements. So just remember, this is like an update. That's why now we're using double colons for CSS3. So now that you know that, let's go ahead and take a look at another pseudo element that you can use. And this will be the first letter. Okay, so the pseudo element first letter is used to add a special style to the first letter of a text. So here we're going to see an example. Going back to the same paragraph, we are going to change here first line to first letter. Okay, and now I'm going to hit save because I'm not going to input a brand new paragraph nor anything. I will be just changing each pseudo element so you can see the differences. So I'm going to hit save. Now into our code, what this is going to do is that the first letter, which is the letter Y, is going to change. That's the only one that is going to change because I'm removing the style for the first line pseudo element. So now let's hit refresh. And boom, as you can see now, the only letter highlighted with a background of yellow, it's the letter Y. Okay, because we changed the first line for the first letter as a pseudo element. So that's also another thing that you can do with a pseudo element. So now let's take a look at another pseudo element. Let's take a look at the before pseudo element. So the before pseudo element can be used to insert some content before the content of an element. Okay, so for this, I am going to add an H1 to our paragraph, actually before our paragraph here. Okay, let's say here that I want to add an H1. So this is some content. I'll just say this is some content. Okay, so let's hit save, going back to our code, hitting refresh, and here you go. So here we have some content. So with the before pseudo element, we are going to insert some content before the element that we are using. So for this, we're going to go back to our style. We will use the H1 as the selector, and then we're going to use the double colons. We're going to say before. So inside here, we're going to use the content, okay? And then we're going to use, let's go ahead and use a URL. And then in parentheses, we're going to use, on images, we're going to use the picture of the puppy. Now, yeah, the image, as you can see here, is super big. So what I'm going to do is, let's just go ahead and, in order to not make this video longer, I am going to use another image here. So let's search for the picture of the check. That's just another picture I have there. So let's hit save, and I'm going to hit refresh now. And here's the check mark, and it's before of that content, but it's also still too big. Let me see if I can use another one. Okay, so images. Okay, let's use the bullet. I think that this bullet, it might be a little bit smaller, or let's use the circle. I think the circle was a little bit small. Let's try that one out. So let's hit save. Okay, that one at least is a little bit small. So as you can see, by selecting on my images the circle image, and I am using the before pseudo element, I am adding an image before the content. That is one of the reasons why you are going to add some type of pseudo element to your content if you want to add something before that element. Okay, so that's an example in how you can use the before pseudo element. Now, another one that you can use also is the after pseudo element, which you might be wondering how this one is used. And it's the same thing as the first one, it's just that this is going to happen after the element. Okay, so I'm going to apply the same thing here for an H1, and then I'm going to say after. Okay, And then we are going to apply the same content URL. And then inside we'll use images, and then we're going to definitely use the circle, which is the smaller image I think I have in my folder right now. So let's hit save. Going back to our code here, let's hit refresh, and boom, you see now I have two images, one before and the other one after, just by simply using the pseudo element before and after. Okay, so far I have shown you 4 pseudo elements because we use the first paragraph or 2. So I hope that you're clear, but if you're not, remember that if you have questions, you can always leave them in the comment section below so I can help you and I can reply as soon as I can. So there's one more that I want to show you here. There's one more pseudo element that I think it's going to be super helpful for you. And that one is the marker pseudo element. Now, the marker pseudo element selects the markers of list items. Okay, if you want to add a list and you want to apply certain type of style to the markers of that list, then you can use this pseudo element. So for this, I am going to apply an unordered list, or let's apply an order list. Okay, and then I will apply a couple of LIs here. Let me just add content. I'll just say content to all LIs I will apply here. Okay, and let's do those. Okay, so let's hit save. Going back to our page, let's hit refresh, and boom. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 content. Now let's say that I want to apply a different colors or a different background style to the numbers, as you can see then I can do that by using the marker pseudo element. So we're going to go ahead and we will use this, okay? We are going to use the marker. Now, if you hit here where it says try it yourself, as you can see here to the order list, I'm not using in the style here, we are not going to be using the OL element. Okay, we're not going to be using that as a selector. We can go ahead and directly just add the double columns, and then we can say marker, and immediately we can go ahead and apply certain type of style to this. We can do different colors. You can change the style in terms of font size, like here. So we're going to use the same two properties. We're going to use the color property, and let's use the color property. We're going to color them blue. And as well, we're going to use the font size, okay? The font size property, and we're going to say this is going to be 50 pixels big, okay, each number. So going back here, if I hit, let me make sure I hit save here, and let's hit refresh now. Boom, you see now how all numbers are big and they have been colored blue? That's because we did that with the marker pseudo element. Okay, so that's another one you can use. And as a bonus, I'll give you one more so you can learn how to use this one. I'm guessing that by now you are getting to know a little bit better how you can use this pseudo elements on your advantage. But I just want to show you one more, because with this one, you are going to be able to select things and style them differently when the user actually do that with the mouse. And by the way, that's going to be the selection pseudo element. This is what is going to help you do what I was talking about before. The selection pseudo element, it's going to match the portion of an element that is selected by the user, like if it's highlighted, like what I'm doing right now with my mouse, right? And then you can apply to the selection pseudo element, you can apply color, you can apply background, you can apply a cursor, and you can even apply an outline. Those are the properties you can use with this. And there's no need for you to use a specific element or a specific selector. You can simply go ahead and just say selection, so it's applied to the entire page. Okay, so let me show you what I mean about this. Let's do here selection, and then we're going to open here our syntax, and okay, here they use a color of red. I'm going to use a color of, let's use a color of black. Okay, and then I am going to use, well, the letters are going to be black. No, let's do the following. I'm going to say color is going to be white. Okay, and then the background is going to be, let's do background yellow. Well, in this case, yeah, let's do a background of, let's do black. Okay, let's do background black, and then the color is going to be white. Now I am going to hit save here. Going back to our code, let's hit, but before I hit refresh, let me show you right now. If I select everything, right now it's blue, and then the colors turn white. Now if I hit refresh and we apply this style, when I highlight things, now they are becoming black and the letters white. Okay, so you can go ahead and actually try this out on your own and see how you can go ahead and use this pseudo element on your advantage to create amazing websites. So as you can see today, you've learned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 with the first one that I show you, 6 pseudo elements that you can use on your advantage. I hope everything has been so far clear, but if you have questions, remember to leave them in the comment section below. That way I can read them and I can reply as soon as I can. Okay, so that was it for this video, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you find it useful. If you did, remember that you can share it with others. That way I can help other people as well. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Also remember, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you can get notified every time that I upload a video. Also remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye everyone, and see you again in the next episode.